of some young Marists who used to meet here. We started a thing called Prayer and Pastor. Brother Greg McDonald actually led that. And then it moved into some activities for the young Marists to come. Spend some time with the brothers in a shared meal and have some input and prayer time. And the prayer time is held here in this chapel, this space that we now call the Oratory. And the reason I wanted to present that image was both historical and looking forward, and I think also linked into the spirit of accompaniment. So as we pass that photo around, I'd like you to, maybe there might be a face you recognise, maybe it's just the faces of the young and the older, but they are Marists who are out there living their lives, and both lay Marists and brothers as well. And people who've journeyed together and potentially will continue their journey and perhaps are being accompanied in other places. It's also about looking back a little bit, and I'm happy to remember, like I have great memories of what this place was. And it was exciting to introduce Bill tonight to what this place is, and we can even maybe project forward to, as Richard Raw says, this is why it's eclectic, what God is drawing us into. He's got the whole cosmology of those pages. It's wonderful reading, but he talks about a God of creation who, this is better if I read it, evolution impels us to think of God as drawing the world from up ahead, attracting it into a new future. So this idea of accompaniment, like I feel personally attracted to it, and I think there's an attraction that's happening in this community for people. In terms of the history of the brothers and who we are as a predominantly lay community of Marists in Canberra, Jesus said also in this Emmaus meditation to the disciples, don't get too excited about the things that I did. Don't get too excited about the things that I did, because you're going to do even greater things. I'm not saying we're going to do greater things than the brothers at all, but I just think we're going to do our things slightly differently, and whilst this place has that history, I think it also has a future. So that's enough for me, I feel. Except to share one other piece of wisdom and to offer you some time. There's some sheets and books over on that side on the chairs, and one of them was from the Marist Association newsletter, which came out today, Christ-like. And if you don't receive it and you'd like to, just see me later and I can forward it to you. But a lady called Tracy Dublay from the Melbourne office went out. It's a lovely connection to what we met here and did last time, which was around caring for the homeless. And in Melbourne, they went and had a night on the streets. Their Marist, some of their Marist community, and this lady shares an article which is over there, and there was a quote in there which says, "The simple act of sharing one's time to listen and talk is oftentimes the thing that our friends on the street miss the most." Immediately I thought of people on the street, but I must say there's people here in this room and people aren't in this room who said to me that I miss and I need this time to listen and to speak and to be heard. And it's wonderful that we have this time together to pray, to listen, to reflect, and to be listened to and to listen to each other.
Well, I have to say, what Nathan was talking about there at the beginning, I find really heartening. So, in a strange way, I think many good things are going on in all our ministries without the brothers, because you guys are taking it forward. So, I don't feel disillusioned, I feel quite engaged and quite heartened by what's happening. I'd love for there to be more brothers around, but they're not, and that's the way it is. So, I think what you guys are doing here, you mentioned what God is drawing us into. I don't think you could have entered into what I was saying any better than what you said there, so it just connects in really well. So this is just a little reflective thing, reflective time, to name a few possibilities, to offer a few possibilities, and then it's up to you guys to see what interests you and where it goes. So I'm happy to support it, but it's got to be from your place here, your space. So there'll be a number of things that we'll talk about and share, and I've kind of surrounded with some reflection. So I guess this is really valuable, just gathering, and I commend you to embark on that initiative and to see where it takes you, both personally and as a group. And to start with, just what are you doing? What are you doing personally to nurture your spiritual world? You don't have to answer, but just as a reflective thing, what are you doing? Well, obviously, you're here, so that's something. So there's something serious. And what it means for each person in this room will be very different. And that's okay too. So hopefully tonight, something we do might strike a chord with you that might say, yeah, I'd like to give that a go, or pursue that. There's no one right or wrong way of doing it. So it's just providing a whole lot of things that may or may not connect. And it doesn't really matter where you are on your spiritual journey. Again, for the 15 of us here, we'd all be in different places. And that doesn't matter. We just come from where we are, and it's really the desire, as Richard Raw says, what are you being drawn to? So there's something in the charism, something in your spiritual journey that's drawing you to come here tonight. And we'll look at a few ways that might help explore that. That's what I was doing. I'm not sure whether that's an email coming through or something.
It's your virus threat protection.
Oh, okay.
They'll get rid of that.
Thanks. So, I have been just finished reading this book. And again, it really connects. It's called God is Near by Michael Moore. And I'll just grab a few of his things for what we're looking at here. And he offers really quite a lot of insights about the church. And I really would be surprised if you disagree with what he's saying. And he talks about the need for us to take more responsibility for our own spiritual journey. That we need to take more responsibility for ourselves. Gone are the days we had someone lecturing and telling us what to do from the pulpit. Some might still think that's the case, but that's not the reality anymore. We're well past that. In fact, you've got this group here, really, lives that out. So he's quite blunt with some of the things he says. And he gives an example, the Karl Rahner, who wrote, he said first of all that we need to move away from passive spectators to engaging in our faith, actively engaging, which I see as what you're doing, or what you're seeking to. And Karl Rahner says that there, I'll let you, rather than me read it out, I'll let you just read it. So he is saying that he believes that things will change when we're willing to develop a personal understanding of our faith. And what does that mean for us? Community is an important part of it, not just Marist, the church. So what he says is quite challenging. And for me, I think it's quite familiar. Things, the ritualism, the legalism, the administration, things that really take us away from what should be the core of what Jesus' teaching was. So you may or may not agree with that. But I was struck by two questions he offered in the book. And I'm just going to put them up. And I'd like you just to answer the questions privately. And we'll come to it in a moment. So just to read those two questions and just to give yourself a mark. not probably questions we would normally do in social settings or probably generally talk about. But it really struck me when I read it, because not only the questions, but the response. So I'm not sure what your mark was. And he says that in his research, Catholics generally mark themselves very low, and that they perceive they are not close to God, or God is not close to us. And he says there's something wrong about that thinking. That's not what it should be. So I don't know whether you gave yourself a good mark, an average mark. He did say what the average mark was, if I remember correctly, something around, the average mark was about 6 for a lot of Catholics. And he was focusing to, he used to be an MSc priest, I'm pretty sure. So, oh yeah, he's around just above 6. And he says, our response can point to a difficulty we have in recognising that God is close to us and eternal life is a gift. And that's the response he offers in the book. He says it's quite a cultural change for Catholics, and it kind of connects with what we're doing here, I believe. We need to move to a healthier way of thinking. Catholics are big on the guilt, and all the stuff. When I was growing up, we were more worried about what we had to say at confession with Father and what we'd actually done, because we didn't want to make a mistake in case we got roused out in confession. And we think about year 2, year 3 guys, it's ridiculous. But we kind of grew up with that all the way through. Now, they thought they were doing the right thing probably, so it's not in all good faith. But things have changed. And he says that God is 10 out of 10 close to us, and that's the reality of our lives. Heaven is God's gift to each one of us. We don't acquire eternal life of God by our effort. They're fundamental truths of our religion. Why do we have difficulty believing that? And it did made quite an impact on me reading that. Because he says that for many of us, we talk about a journey to God. In other words, all the things we have to do to get over the line and get through the old term limbo and all that stuff, like all that purgatory and all that stuff, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. So he talks about a journey to God. That's what a lot of people see. But he says it really should be a journey with God. And that makes sense. And what you were doing here, or what potentially we're creating through Nathan and the team and all you guys, is offering something that would be more aligned with that, a journey with God. So we don't have to have all these checklists of things that we need to do. So how can that happen? It's really quite a contrast. Well, it's already happening because you're here. And I think the thing would be to encourage others to be part of it. The more that are part of it, the healthier it will be for the school community. And there's no prerequisites to be here for that to happen. I think just a willingness to be part of it, wherever we come from and whatever we've done, whatever our history is. There was no requirements there to, he wasn't saying to be 10 out of 10, you must have done this, this and this. There was no prerequisites. So, it's a journey with God. So how can that happen? Well, with what we're doing here, some of the things, I'm going to put up a number of things here. They may or may not interest you. And I take it as a given, not all of them will interest you. So there's a reflection day coming up in October, it appears. And that's just like a retreat day. Now we had one last year, and so that's just a fairly relaxed day, and I'm pretty sure I got the right day. 19th, there's the one in front of the 9th. Right. So, and that's just, but that Nathan will canvass you guys about that, and if you can be there, it'd be great. So that's just one type of thing. They're a weekend retreat. You might think that taking some time out from, I don't mean formal programs, like that we do with Footsteps and all those things that you support. A weekend retreat might be just coming to our place in Mittagong or some other retreat centre to take some time for yourself to nurture that spiritual world, to step back from the busyness and just to take it quiet. So you've got a brochure there which outlines some of the retreats we offer. The Care for Soul retreats, which quite a few have done for you, might be something that appeals. And they're not lengthy, they're normally Friday night to Sunday morning or Thursday night to Saturday morning. So it's just something to start with, and there are 10 retreats we're offering next year. You might think of doing just a private retreat. So just some time by yourself at a place like ours. It doesn't have to be just Marist, but our place is a beautiful place, so it's certainly, and then you can cater yourself, have a cater, you can have accompaniment, or do your own thing. So they're some things that are on offer. They're not really the bulk of what I was going to refer to. But I don't know whether you come across this image of the skeleton leaf. So I'm just going to give you one. At great expense to a hermitage. So, with what we're going to look at with the accompaniment, and the second part of it is the skeleton leaf, I found quite as a helpful analogy for myself. It's a reminder that with what we're looking at here, like when we reflect back on the marks you gave yourself out of 10, we bring our authentic selves, the person we are, just as we are, to our spiritual encounters. Not the false self, not the person we pretend to be, not the person we often show out to others. We come exactly as we are, with our failures, our successes, the challenges, the tough times, the ups and downs. And I find that a very useful image that we just come without all our protections. And we don't need to have all our shields, because the relationship is 10 out of 10, no matter what we've done or who we are and what we're feeling. And so when we come to accompaniment, that's what we come. That's what we bring, our authentic self. Now, it might be a challenge to do that, and we all have our protections that we do to shield ourselves, to protect us, but I think that's what we're encouraging to do. To bring our authentic selves to these times, to trust and to be open to where the Spirit is inviting us to go. Where are we being led? Right from that statement you said right at the beginning, Nathan. And we try and let go of our ego and accept the invitation. 5 years ago I was principal at school. I had no intention of doing what I'm doing. It wasn't even on my radar. And then subsequently, with all that went with that, then I'm training as a spiritual director and I'm running the hermitage, so it's a different world. So you just don't know where, it doesn't mean that you're going to be in a different ministry or a different place, but when you are open to what the Spirit is offering, who knows where it's going to take you. So it's an invitation. And I love that image on the left there, Jesus knocking at the door. I'm sure you've seen that, or versions of it. There's no doorknob on the outside. So the only way he can enter into our lives is for us to open the door, to respond and let him in. Now what that means for you, I don't know. But I guess there's something that's drawn you here tonight. And it might be about you opening up that door to nurture the spiritual or deepen the spiritual and to see what unfolds and where it will take you. So there are 3 possible options that I was just going to put to you. And you've got some sheets there with some information. You can look at them later. You don't need to look at it now. I've called it The first one is Emmaus Companion. So it's really working on one-on-one, and you can't, like Nathan can't say, you're going with, you two guys are going together, you two guys are going together. You can't work like that. That's got to be, you have to connect with someone, hopefully in this group, who you might feel an empathy with, a connection with, or trust with, or there's a bond there. And part of this time here, in future, will be spending some time with your Emmaus Companion. So, it's really sharing your spiritual side with this person. Now, how do we do that? Well, there can be like a talk and some prompt questions or some prompt things to reflect on. You go away and do it. To talk about those things with some sharing at a deeper level. How often do we do that? Share spiritual stuff? Really, we don't very much, I would suggest. So, that might be one thing that you could do as part of this time. And I'm suggesting twice a term, there's some connection that you guys have to work out when that will be. So, the Emmaus Companion, so you're not journeying alone, you're journeying with someone. And I would suspect it probably should be the same person. So you kind of build up a connection, an understanding, trust and bond. And you, the time you do that, well, one of the times will be at this gathering, one would be at another nominated time that you guys would work out. I'd say twice a term would probably be adequate. It doesn't have to be really, really lengthy. But sharing, we listen, we share, we don't judge. As it says there, we listen to each other with an openness of heart, compassion and care. So that's what I would call an Emmaus Companion. That's just the term I came up with. And the story of Emmaus walking along the road, how they felt when they were listening to him talking, and then when they sat down at the meal. So, and really the Spirit will lead you in whatever happens. It will happen. You'll probably be surprised how profound it will be. I've got no doubt about that, and it's really responding to what Morwood was saying about us taking the spiritual seriously and responding in a very practical, you are taking ownership for it. And it's all right to have someone help with prompting, and one of my suggestions is that this time might be something like I'm doing now, whoever it is, whether it's me or someone else, sharing something, and then you spend some time reflecting on what's been shared. It might be an article, it could be a talk, it could be something else, I don't know. And then you go and spend some time with each other. The reason why I'm saying like this, because it gives you a template to use, so we know what's going to happen today. Schools are such busy places. You just say, you've got to meet twice a term, well, it's probably not going to happen. So if you try and arrange a time, I suggest that would work. And then you come back together. You might be with each other for 15 minutes, 20 minutes. You can connect as much as you want, but you would connect formally, what I suggest, twice. So there's some other guiding principles in there. So I think what you're doing here, the gift of walking together, is really supporting each other, and I think sharing is really crucial to that. There's also then what I call, technically it's called spiritual direction, but I use more accompaniment with someone who is trained in accompaniment. So again, that's taking it a bit further from the Emmaus. You might be interested in just doing the Emmaus. I'm suggesting that this is another option, that you might want to meet with someone who is trained to sit with and look at where that takes you on your spiritual journey. So it's one-on-one accompaniment with a trained spiritual director. So, and I've said to Nathan, I'm happy to come to Canberra on the days that we do this. So say, for example, just say for example, 4 of you said I'd like to do that, or at least give it a go. The day that I come might be, you can just designate when you're free on that day and negotiate a space, a time and a space. So whether it's before school, during school, a free period, or after school, whatever it is, and then this happens. So that might be another thing that might be interested in. I've put a few sheets there about that. I personally have accompaniment. I do it each month. I have found it extremely valuable, and I've done it for many, many years. It's just journeying with someone to help nurture and deepen your spiritual journey. You don't need to worry about what you're going to bring to the time, or what I should have done, or what I haven't done. It just happens. If you come with an open heart, it happens. It's amazing. I could not recommend it highly enough. Now I know some of you may or may not. Is anyone aware of spiritual direction? Is anyone here? Yep, so a couple. Alright. So, these guys could say whether they found it helpful or not. And I think that the key is you've got to find the right person to connect with. I would not be saying I am the one who has to do it with you guys. I'm happy to do it, be part of it. And you might prefer to talk to a woman. You might prefer to talk to someone who's not a religious, or a priest, or a brother. It doesn't matter. It's got to be, it can't be designated that that's the guy and the only guy you're going to see. You might meet with me, say, that first time, say I'll get a good vibe, it's working. You'll have a vibe after this time now, really, that, yeah, I might be happy to give him a go. Or no, he doesn't seem to be my cup of tea. That's fine. Because I've had a spiritual direction to someone after my second visit that this just isn't working. Very highly regarded person, but for me it just wasn't working. As soon as I met my current one, we hit it off straight away. And I thought, this is the right person. And I've been still going. So what's the value of it? There's a lot of things that happen in your spiritual world that you probably don't even notice, you don't pick up on, or you're not in tune with. This person doesn't give you the answers. This person just reflects back to you your journey. Things that are already happening there for you. So it's not a guru. It's really just someone who's walking with you, helping to share. That's my way of putting it in. I've written a few things there that may or may not be helpful for you. So what do you bring to the time? Yeah. So what do you bring to the time? Well, you work it out with the person. And as I say, you sit down with a preliminary chat, and then you work it from there. I find it extremely helpful in having a journal. So from all my visits with my spiritual director, I take my journal and I read between month to month what I've written. And you'll notice when you read, if you're faithful to it, it's amazing off the surface. Now, what do I write? I just write down my passage of the day, just a phrase or word that comes to me in my reflection. Just the date and the words. I refer to something called a gold thread, which I'll explain in a moment. Good things that happen in your day, I just make a note of those. And when I've read them, I share that to her. She doesn't read it, I just share what I want to share. And it's amazing what flows from that time. So you just come and just trust that the gifts will come and the Spirit will be at work. So we've got the Emmaus Companion as one option. You can do both. But being practical time-wise may not be. Spiritual directional accompaniment with someone. And then if you wanted to do it, but you prefer to have someone else, as in like female, or there are people in Canberra that I know. So Mary here, for example, is a spiritual director. So and there are other people I know who we can easily do connections for. So the day that it's nominated, whatever day is termed for this, I would aim to try and come in and be available for that day to be part of that if that's what they want. I'd encourage you to look at doing some spiritual reading, and the person accompanying you can help you maybe steer you in some ways that might help. There's some great books over there that Nathan's got from moving on. So there's plenty, and I just think it helps nurture and encourage. So spiritual reading is important. Finding some time, regular time, and that's where the journal comes in. I just do it faithfully. We pray each morning at 7 o'clock till about 7:45, and I just do it each morning, so I'm in a routine of doing it. So whatever it is for you, night time, weekends, it doesn't have to be every day, might be once a week. And she talks about that we need sacred time to care for our soul. And without sacred time, we're robbed of the possibility of peace. So I think what you're doing here by being here tonight is, so well, I need something. Because schools are pretty challenging and chaotic in a lot of ways. You need some pace to step back. So I think we need to find that sacred time. And not to be guilty about it, find something that's practical for you. It might be 10 minutes in the morning before you come to work. You might come and sit in this space when you arrive, or sit in the chapel. Find some place that will work for you. You might be riding your bike. You might be having a coffee after school somewhere. Just some quiet space. It doesn't matter. Finding some space. And the graces will come. And that's what you share with your companion, or with the person who does the spiritual directing. And I love this quote. Let's just read that one yourself from Andy Botto. So it's the God who meets us every day in the ordinary things, all the encounters that we have. And we talk about the God with skin. I think it's a great analogy that God is present each and every day. And that's where for me the gold threads come in. Gold threads for me, the image that I use, is the good things that happen to you every day. And I have that piece of material in my journal as a little reminder of the things and encounters that we have every day. It could be, and I remember one thing, I've got this lovely, two things I was give you. Father's Day, I've got this beautiful text from an old boy from one of my schools, he's about 35 now, thanking me for being like his father figure. And it just came out of the blur. I sent him back a message saying you've made my day, and how I've helped him through many things. Now, that for me is a gold thread, and what he wrote was wonderful, and something very, very different. I was working in our school in Perth, and the principal was a really tall bloke, and I was walking, having had handsome and tall. Handsome and tall, very right. So it doesn't bear given. I was talking to the boss, and it's a K-12 school. I walked out of the chapel where we were meeting. We walked outside, and his mum was walking with her daughter and her son having parent-teacher. Now the kid was in year 2. When he saw John, the boss, he just beamed. And John happened to bend down, and he just came over and high-fived the boss. Now this is year 2 kid coming over and high-fiving the boss. John had crawled in to do it, obviously. It just made his day. And I said to John, that's my gold thread for the day. The following term, I went back and I told that story at the staff. There were about 220 in the staff. They had a full staff day. And I told that story to the whole staff. The next day I was at the primary campus, and this lady came up and said to me, you made my day yesterday. That was my son. I didn't remember that was her. So I note those things in my diary. They're the gold threads that you all have them every day. God present in our life. Because Innocent says that every event is a word of God to us, and it's a gift. And our hunger will not go unanswered. So every event, not just the good things, every event, the tough things, the challenging things. And as a church, we've had plenty of them of recent times. But something comes through all those things, and our prayers will not go unanswered. So one of the things that says, like the Spirit, the Emmaus Companion, they're not trained. You're just journeying with each other, sharing where you're at. People who have done spiritual direction, who are trained, have to have accompaniment themselves. So like I have my own spiritual direction, and then we've got to have supervision. So it's part of the expectation that if you're going to do that you're a professional supervision. So, and it's not a burden, because it's just something you know you need to have to make sure that you're on the right path. So that may not be something you want to start with. That might come down the track. You might just want to start with the Emmaus Companion and then get to that. That's fine. But at least we're offering, I think it's wonderful that your school is offering this, and then we'll see where it goes. I'm happy to be part of it if that's what you want. So,
That's all free.
Sorry?
Personal free. Like, I guess you wouldn't expect someone necessarily to have to that's not a prerequisite that I'm already committed to
No.
yeah, can you put
Yes, I'd say two quotes I use for one of the retreats. One is, if you want to pray, you are. The desire to pray, I think one is Thomas Merton, and Teresa of Avila, I think it was, the desire to pray is the prayer. So I'd say you obviously need to have a commitment to taking this on. And what does that mean for you? It doesn't mean you have to get up and do an hour's meditation every day. It's got to be practical for what will work for you. And that would be something you talk about with the person accompanying you. They might have suggestions, or you might talk together, this works for you. Like if we do this again next time, it'd be good to do something like a Visio Divina or Alexio Divina, just something different that you can use with kids in class, with colleagues. There's so much there. So yes, I think you just turn up as you are, and it might be, I haven't done much, I don't think I've done much. I just think it's just opening up so many doors. So, and those of you that have it, I'm sure, which would suggest if you've got the right person, it can be quite life-giving. And I know some of you have been on Care for Souls and Footsteps that had accompaniment. So it's a good thing to share.
The other thing I wanted to say, Bill, is the Emmaus Companioning is a new thing for me. It's like I've experienced on retreats. We might have 4 or 5 sessions over 2 days together, and you build up a great little thing, and then it's done. Phil and I were just saying the other day, we were having a great conversation with the staff room, and Phil said, we should have more of this, we need more space for this, and I think that's what this is about.
It is. I would like to think that after this tonight, Nathan can message all of you and the rest who are part of the group, and others, anyone can be part of it really. Is there something that we've said today does that interest you, whether it's accompaniment or the Emmaus Companion? And the other one, the journey together, is what you're doing now, and really got 2 options really. Then have some sharing, some input, the companions, some social, and then some sharing. Because it's all the wisdom. The wisdom is here, you've got the wisdom. And funnily enough, when I was preparing this after discussing it with Nathan, the day I was preparing it, I came across this scripture passage in our evening prayer. And I don't believe it's a coincidence these things happen. You can say it's just, fortuitous, but just read that there. great if Catholics were kind of a bit more joyful, a bit more spiritual like we are. Like we have our liturgies at school, and all the things we do so well in our ministries. That's what we need to do. We're not the 6 out of 10 people like he was talking about before in our relationship. And I think younger ones probably get it more than the older ones do. And it's a really timely message. And in the homily at our Monday community mass, we have a guy who comes with us every week, and he used 2 quotes. I said, can I have them? Because I thought it's going to fit in with what I was just going to talk about. He talks about Padre Pio in 1960, but you know much about him, it doesn't really matter. He had a stigmata, but he was banned by the church doing all this things, preaching and saying mass and meeting people and engaging with people. He said, continue to pray always, but do not bore God by being gloomy. He is the God of joy. Always pray with a smile. Pray always with a smile. He copped so much grief from the church, the institutional church. And the 14th century mystic Julian of Norwich, who he didn't know, but Julian of Norwich has been really, really special on my journey. And he says, the greatest honour we can give Almighty God is to live gladly in the knowledge of His love. So, the efforts that you guys are trying to do here, I think, will hopefully help.